The main tournament block bumping is finished, but now the marbles in the caboose get to have their turn, trying to have the strength defend. Last time in the caboose, we saw Amber Artist take the gold in funnel endurance, with Acid and Cobra following behind in the podium finishers. Meanwhile, Cloud Chaser, Automaton, and Mint Dream currently sit at the bottom three, meaning that they are in the auto relegation zone. While Crystal, Capybara, and Exoplanet are in the relegation play-in zone, as the same rules apply as from the main league. And if you haven't seen it, well, I hope Cloud Chaser will demonstrate it well enough. Cloud Chaser got last place in the first event of Funnel Endurance. Pretty bad time. It wasn't nearly the worst, and that is a from the best push in the main league was a 32. I won't say who it was, just in case you haven't seen it, and now currently Cloud Chaser is not living up to that at all. I don't see, but that's not the worst thing ever. From what I saw in the main league, that is a pretty not good run, actually, and that was a nice push though, but this last push was a little underwhelming. We're gonna start things off with a 24.09. Nothing special there at all. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of that. Kind of Automaton next up. I guess Automaton 5th was not close to qualifying. I don't know if there really was anything like a strength event per se in it. That was a bit of a spin, and this block stayed in though. Automaton is trying to do better than that, and that is a pretty good hit at the 20 range. But this last hit is what really matters, and what really matters is that it goes slightly out. Now, if you haven't seen the main tournament, that is not a redo. But it is a 1.5 inch penalty. So, Automaton goes from a 25.47, which would easily beat Cloud Chaser, to a 23, which is worse than Cloud Chaser. I didn't read the exact decimal, but it was worse. Mint Dream is next up. Mint Dream. Showed a lot of... After the first push... Oh, that's a good second push. It looked better than it actually was. It was a nice little hit. It was only like 7.5 yards. And now that is a really good third push as well. That's like, I think, towards the 8 or 9 yard line. And the final push, it wasn't as good as the others, but that looked like almost a main tournament-esque push. Like something that you'd see in the upper echelon of those. Of the like main tournament guys, which for someone in the caboose is really good. That is a 28.63, which was good, which is easily the best so far. Crystal has a lot to prove for that one. I think a 28 would have gotten you like decently. I think it would have gotten you a top 5 finish in the main league, unless I am wrong. 6.5 start off for Crystal. And, alright, that second push was pretty not good. Compared to though, that was a great third push. Huge hit there, nice contact. The final hit, it was alright. It seems like the track, maybe got a little stuck on the track. I'm not sure, I mean, I guess I'm kind of sure how that happens. It was a little wonky there. 25.44 is enough for second place in the caboose so far, but nowhere near Mid Dream. As Capybara, 5th marble up, one of the newest marbles in Marble Express, a very brand new one, first major season, and a 7. Currently looking pretty good for Capybara. The second, but really good. That was like 9 or 10 even, and like we saw that from like medalist, but now it's out of bounds. Can Capybara recover from this? As if it goes fully out, it's a big good run to waste. It's a good run to waste. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but that second hit was amazing. Now it's going, Capybara does get a redo, so it's not a full disqualification yet, but can Capybara redeem themselves? First bump, not as good from what it looks like. Very average, a little below average maybe for the main turret. Another not so good push. It seems like this is third push. Maybe it could be big. It's out. It's dislodged. It got kind of put back on this lot. Wait, what? Why did that clip play twice? I'm sorry. That was an editing error. I'm sorry. The block goes out again. The editing error caught me off guard. I am terribly sorry for that. And Capybara, first invalid run of the day. There were a couple in Marble in the main tournament. There were 2, to be exact. Let's see if anyone else will join Capybara. Exoplanet. Exoplanet is a pretty seasoned Marble, I would say. It's been around since 2021. As far as Marble Express goes. Not sitting very well, obviously, in the bottom half after one event. Haven't touched strength in a while, though, for Exoplanet, so we'll see how they do. Currently, it looks not the best, but it is staying in, which is already better than Capybara. I know, very high bar to cross, but, like, you know, you gotta start somewhere. And a 24, maybe? It was, like, about 24. It was, like, 2 feet exactly. Not the best in the world, actually. Kind of bad, actually. The worst outside of Capybara, 23.88. That's even worse than Cloud Chaser and Automatone, even with the penalty. Green Dolphin, next up. Green Dolphin, 10th last time in Funnel Endurance. Another pretty old Marble. Like Exoplanet, has been around in 2021. Started off in different minor tournaments, though. Green Dolphin starting in Marble Sack Super, I believe it is. MS, I'll just call it that, just in case you're like, Ayo. And pretty good first. I'm sorry, we're not talking about the runs that much. That's a pretty good third push. Third hit. The 4th hit, kind of butchered it. Kind of butchered the run. The run was looking really good until, pretty solid until that 4th hit. Look at that second. But it's 4th hit. We don't even get to see it. 24.56 and 3rd currently, which is pretty solid. And Icy Penguin, the final Marble that didn't quite make the top half, was very close to advancing in Funnel Endurance, trying to show this event off better, and currently starting off pretty well, 7 something. And that hit wasn't that good, and now it's a bit out. Now it's a bit dislodged. And the final hit, what will Icy Penguin do? And it's fully out. It's fully out. Icy Penguin. A bit of a disaster there. It also looked like a good run. Actually, it was looking like a pretty bad run, actually. I mean, actually, it was pretty solid. I'd say, no, it's not a good run. That was not a good run. But maybe Icy Penguin on the redo can show up. And, you know, maybe learn from what Capybara's mistakes on the redo. Actually, you know, hit it far and also on the track. And also maybe try not to duplicate one of your clips. And that was a good second hit for Icy Penguin. As for the 3rd hit, it was a pretty solid. It was like a very different approach to the 2nd hit, but it was similar results. And for the final hit, another pretty solid one. And that looks really good, actually. Wait, that actually looks really good. Maybe, I'm pretty sure it's the lead so far. That was a big hit. That was an insane hit. And this hit, it just had like a bit of a first hit, a second hit, and a little double tap. And 29.09 is the lead currently. Funny enough, I don't even think that wouldn't even be like top 4 in the main league. But for the Caboose, it is good enough for the win by, it is pretty close though. Midstream is not that far behind. I think like a bit more than a ½ inch ahead. But behind. Mighty Moai will kick off the second half of Marbles. Survived off of pretty much a miracle in the first heat of Funnel Endurance, and then just completely tanked in the second one. That was a good first hit though. We didn't get to see much of what it was, and that went slightly out, but Mighty Moai did push it back in. Nice correction there. Oh, good 3rd hit too. All these pretty consistent hits all around. I think each of them are around the 7 mark, which, I mean, if you just find one that's also around the 7 mark, it's a little bit lower than that, but still, that's a good run from what we've seen so far. At least the bench line in the Caboose for, you know, that bench line, this is a pretty good run, I should say. 26.63, currently sitting in 3rd place, which is currently sliding into a medal spot. Thunderstruck will follow this performance up. Got 7th in Funnel Endurance. That was a great first hit there by Thunderstruck. The second hit for Thunderstruck, hoping to follow that up, and that looks like another really good hit. How about these next couple? If they can keep this up, they can maybe challenge for the lead. It wasn't as good, but it still was a pretty good hit. And how will this final one do? Pretty much anything good, and it wasn't the best. This is really close to Icy Penguin, though. Or it may be even mid-dream. I'm not even sure if this beats mid-dream, but maybe it doesn't. But it's definitely in the top echelon. 28.06. It apparently does not beat mid-dream, and Roller Coaster is next up. Roller Coaster. I don't know what to say. I mean, that's a great start by Roller Coaster. 9 hits, that's what you want to see in a first hit. But that is not what you want to see in the second hit. If Roller Coaster could recorrect himself, this could be a great run. But if not, then he's going to have to do this all again. He cannot, and it will be a redo. I told... It went from striking gold to a disaster from Roller Coaster. And now Roller Coaster gets a second shot, though. We did see how Icy Penguin took their second shot. But we also saw Capybara took their second shot. How will Roller Coaster use the second attempt? That's not as good of a start. Maybe he's just trying to play it safe to keep it in. Not doing a good job at that, though, as now it's already out. He needs to hit it back in here, or else he's pretty much done. He's pretty much done. And I think the way tiebreakers work between two marbles that did not get that both have valid runs is what their best run would have been. And I think Capybara had a better best run than Roller Coaster. Roller Coaster takes last. Disaster after a good start to the caboose in Funnel Endurance. Flare is up next. Not a good start by Flare. Pretty just like subpar hit. It does stay in though. It was a nice looking second hit. A little slapped it back into the direction. Put you back on track. Back now looks just like an average run. That is a pretty good third hit as well. The fourth hit is the one that really matters though. And it could have been better. It was pretty below average. A lot of marbles in the caboose have been struggling on that last hit, where it felt like in the main tournament that was like a lot of the marbles' best hits. I don't think that's the case with the caboose. I think a lot of them have really been just like not doing as much with it. It is enough for Flare to be 5th out of 12 marbles, so actually very average. Funnel Master next up. Barely missed out of the podium in Funnel Endurance. That kind of... But that first start, a 7.5. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world either. And, oh, whoa. That almost went out, but Funnel Master just was really quick to correct it. That could have been disastrous, but it was not. That's a really good third hit by Funnel Master. 23. That was an insane third hit. How about this last one? That's also pretty solid, and I think that's the lead. That's past 30. That has to be the lead. Nobody else has gone past 30. Icy Penguin had like 29-something, but Funnel Master has more than 29-something. It's 30. So he will take the lead, 30.31. And, well, no one else has gone past 30. A couple did get past 30. 4 got past 30 in the main tournament. But there's only 4 runs left. Well, there was only 3 runs left. I'm sorry, Funnel Master is a top 4 spot guaranteed yet again. Cobra next up, trying to hunt down Funnel Master's run, and it looks like a good run so far. After 2 hits, getting a 16, getting 2 feet in is pretty good, and it's a good third hit too. Everything is like around the 8 mark, and Cobra with a pretty solid final hit could like solidify this, and that is a pretty solid final hit. It's not gonna be Funnel Master. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be Icy Penguin. Maybe it could pass Thunderstruck. I don't think that 28.09 is currently sitting in 4th overall. Acid is the next marble up. How Acid perform? It's a good start, and that's a great start with that little. That is a great push by Acid. Silver and Funnel Nerds. So currently second. And compared to last push, that push sucked. That push was terrible compared to last push, but that is besides the point. Maybe the third push will be better. It was pretty decent. Nothing too groundbreaking, but sets him up not like in an ideal situation, but if he could make it, he can't make it work. Not only was that a weak push, but it also pushes him slightly out of bounds, so he can't redo, and he's gonna have to take a penalty with an already bad push. In fact, that's like the first position is 24.75, not even at that 25 where most of the block was, and then minus 1.5, that's 23.25. That is, I think, the lowest of everyone that had a well-finished run. And Amber Artist, the winner of last event. Funnel Master has a guaranteed podium, guaranteed top 2 finish, by the way. I think Midstream also has a guaranteed podium, but will Amber Artist like this? No, Midstream does not. Icy Penguin has a guaranteed podium. I am sorry. Well, Amber Artist, that's a 21 something. And it looks pretty good. If this final run is really good, this could be podium contention. It's not quite. It's still a good run for the Caboose. The Caboose, they're a bit more consistent with their runs, I'd say, but their highs were definitely not as high as the ones in the main tournament. 7th overall, solid top half result for Amber Artist, but Funnel Master with 30.31 will take the win. Icy Penguin and Midstream around at the podium, and then it's Cobra and Thunderstruck too. They're fairly close to each other, and then Mighty Moai, and then Amber Artist, Flare will round up the top half. Roller Coaster Capybara did not even get finished runs, but so that has to sting for them, especially Roller Coaster, who started off solid, but probably fall off here. Congratulations to Final Master for getting the gold, Icy Pega for getting the silver, and Midream for finishing the bronze. I mean... And then after that, Funnel Master, a gold in the top 4 finish. Yeah, that is going to put anybody in the lead. Amber Artist. Amber Artist still holding up at the top 2 spot. Icy Pega jumping up 6th to 3rd. Only ahead of Cobra, but only off a medal count. Acid has fallen down to 3rd. But as we look at the bottom, Automaton is staying in 2nd to last. Capybara has fallen down 2 spots. Clutches are moved up 2, but they are still the bottom 3. Next event will be obstacle course, so stay tuned for that one.